Welcome. In this presentation, we will explore how relief funding affects your taxes. The information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. The publication and distribution of this information are not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute, an attorney-client, or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information is expressly prohibited. Only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. In today's conversation, we will discuss how to recognize key relief programs and their general tax implications, identify the general impacts of relief programs on tax filings, and use this information as a resource as you prepare to file your taxes. This information is intended to serve as one of many resources in your toolkit. It is not a substitute for, nor should it be construed as personalized advice from a tax preparer. Both the state and the United States federal government dedicated many resources to support child care programs through the COVID-19 pandemic. Relief funding saved many businesses from permanent closure, perhaps even your own. While these relief funds were highly needed and well used, many child care business owners have wondered how this funding will affect their taxes. Different relief funding programs will have varying impacts on your federal and state taxes because funding sources are governed by different tax laws. Most state relief programs, including the Back to Work Child Care Grant, provide funding to cover costs you have already paid or will need to pay soon. Consequently, you must report the funds as income on your federal taxes in the year that you receive the payment. This means that the federal government will tax your grant money at your federal income tax rate. Because you will need to pay taxes on relief funds, your tax bill will most likely increase. However, this can be offset by claiming expenses paid for by the grant as a business deduction. Let's look into the upsides of relief funding in the tax process. First, federal taxes on relief funds do not affect how greatly you are taxed on your earned income. The additional tax money you are paying is being taken out of the funds you received from the grant. Second, expenses covered by the grant continue to qualify as a deduction. Let's look at an example case. Ashley runs a child development home in Washington, D.C. She received a total of $150,000 in support from the Back to Work Child Care Grant Program in 2023. If Ashley had not received the Back to Work Child Care Grant funding, her 2023 earned income would have been $40,000. As a single filer, Ashley would have been in the 12% tax bracket and would have owed the federal government $9,140.43 in self-employment and income taxes. But Ashley did receive Back to Work Child Care Grant funding, and a significant amount of it, at that. She decides to use $2,000 of that funding to pay for online advertising, another $2,000 to purchase new books and toys, $2,500 on arts and craft supplies, and $18,500 to pay off back rent she had not been able to pay previously. These were all items she would not have been able to pay for without the grant funding. When Ashley does her 2023 taxes, she can report all of these as business expenses, as they qualify as eligible deductions. This means that Ashley is reducing her overall tax burden by $25,000, even though those expenses were paid for using relief funds, not Ashley's earned income. While these deductions reduced her tax burden, Ashley does need to add the funding she received through the relief grant she received to her income, all $150,000 of it. When Ashley adds the $150,000 in relief funds to her taxable income and subtracts the additional deductions of $25,000, her net profit does increase by $125,000. Now Ashley's total income is $165,000. Since Ashley is now in the 24% federal tax bracket, she is taxed an additional $35,909.50 from relief grant, which increases her federal tax bill from $9,140.43 to $45,050.03. That's a big difference. Although Ashley's federal tax bill did increase by $35,909.50, she was able to directly put $150,000 of back-to-work child care grant program funds toward her expenses. Ultimately, Ashley ended up with more money than she otherwise would have and was able to reduce her tax burden using relief-funded deductions. The receipt of back-to-work child care grant program funds allowed Ashley to help her business and her family. You may have received the Employee Retention Tax Credit (ERTC) and/or the Families First Coronavirus Response Act (FFCRA) to help reimburse payroll expenses that you maintained while your business operations were impacted by the pandemic. Both the ERTC and FFCRA are refundable tax credits meant to offset wages that your business paid out. Funds received from the credits are taxable and will be included in your gross income for federal or state tax purposes. Please consult with your tax professional regarding these tax credits. If you received pandemic relief funds, it has likely been and will continue to be critical to your child care business's financial operations and recovery. Even though this support can increase your tax liability, the new income that it offers you is valuable. The best way to prepare for this taxation is to organize your expense documentation, such as receipts and payroll, and differentiate the sources of income used to pay for your potential deductions for federal versus state purposes. This is because what you are allowed to deduct may vary for your federal versus state tax filings. You should then set aside an amount of funds equal to your marginal tax rate so that you are prepared to pay any owed tax. If you are unsure, you can use 22%, which is the most common tax rate in the U.S. For more childcare business tax resources, visit www.civstrat.com/taxes. Looking for more information and resources on taxes for childcare businesses? Scan the QR code on the screen to access an entire library of online tax resources for childcare businesses. These tools can help you learn how to organize your tax records, prepare to file your own taxes, and more.